There. Okay. So, let's see if we can see the comments. Okay, there we go. I'm back now. That's crazy. Why does it do that? I don't like that. Maybe I'll come back. Really messing me up. I don't want. Ugh, so irritating. Thank you, Pointer Lover. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Criminal Med. Thank you for coming on back. I'm sorry. I don't know why that freezes up like that sometimes, but that's okay. I just switch over to StreamYard, which, I'm kind of StreamYard challenged, so I don't like to use StreamYard, but we'll just go ahead with it anyway. All right. So I don't know where you stopped hearing me, but we're just gonna. It was probably like whenever we talked about the girl who looked like she always just came from vacation. All right. So here we go. She is brilliant as well, and a great deal smarter than Doreen. And for this reason, even more than the others, Doreen secretly despises her. In fact, she hates her so much that she would kill she would kill her if she thought she could. But she knows she would eventually get caught. Doreen and Jackie were postdoctorate together at the hospital 8 years ago. They became friends, at least in Jackie's eyes, and now Doreen is hearing rumors that Jackie may receive the Member of the Year award. Uh-oh. They are the same age. How can Jackie possibly win an award for being a mentor at the age of 34? Wow. Thank you, Lady Freedom. Thank you, Stars. Thank you, Criminal Med, for coming on back. I'm sorry. Maybe StreamYard will stay on today. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, so she's very jealous. Doreen is very jealous of Jackie. That's what we figured out so far, which is one of those traits. We know it already. Okay. They are the same age. How can okay, I just read that. From the lawn, Jackie Rubenstein looks up and notices Doreen in the office window. She waves. Doreen smiles girlishly and waves back. At this moment, Ivy buzzes Doreen for her first patient of the day. Now she's jealous of this one too. A stunningly handsome, broad-shouldered, but very frightened-looking young man named Dennis. In hospital lingo, Dennis is a VIP, very important patient, because he is the nephew of the famous national politician. In this major teaching hospital, there are a number of such VIPs, celebrities, and the wealthy family members of people whose names are household words. Dennis is not one of Doreen's psychotherapy patients. Further, Doreen is an administrator, which means that she meets with him twice a week to inquire how his treatment is going and to make sure the paperwork is done and to approve his discharge from the hospital when the time comes. Doreen has already heard from the staff today. Dennis will want to discuss his release. He thinks he has gotten better enough to go home. Make sure I don't miss anybody. To separate the administrative task from the psychotherapeutic task, once is the hospital's policy. Each patient has both an administrator and a therapist. Dennis' therapist, whom he worships, is the talented Dr. Jackie Rubenstein. Yesterday, Jackie told Doreen that her patient Dennis was tremendously improved and that he has planned to take him on an outpatient basis when he leaves the hospital. Now, Dennis sits in one of the low chairs, and Doreen Littlefield, hang on, in Doreen's office, and she goes, and she tries to make eye contact, as he knows he should if he's going to appear well enough to go home. But he has a hard time, and he keeps looking away. Something about her gray suit scares him, and something about her eyes. Still, he likes her, and he thinks. She has always been extremely nice to him, and other people have told him that all of the doctors, Dr. Littlefield is the one who is the most interested in the patients. Anyway, she is the expert. Doreen, seated behind her desk, looks at Dennis and marvels again at the perfect lines of his face and his muscular 26-year-old body. She wonders how much money he will end up with inheriting. Oh my God, doesn't she sound just like the other guy? Oh my Lord. Already worried about how much money he's going to inherit. Is she going to try to date him? Well, let's see what happens here. Maybe. Oh boy. Okay. But then she remembers her mission and she tries to lock in his nervous gaze without a maternal smile. I hear you've been feeling much better this week. That's right. Dr. Littlefield, I've been feeling much better this week. Really? A whole lot better. My ideas are much better. They're not bothering me at all this time, like they were when I came in. Why do you think that is? This is her talking to Dennis. Why do you think that they're not bothering you anymore? He goes, oh, well, I've really been working hard on the cognitive therapy techniques. Dr. Rubenstein taught me, they're okay. I mean, they help. And, well, the thing is, I think I'm ready to go home now. Or soon, maybe. Dr. Rubenstein said she could keep seeing him as long as I'm an outpatient. Dennis's ideas, the ones that are not bothering him so much at present, are the paranoid delusions that completely take over his life from time to time. Once a vibrant teenager who made stellar grades and was the champion of his high school lacrosse team, Dennis suffered from a psychotic breakdown during his freshman year in college and was hospitalized. In the 7 years since then, he has been in and out of the psychiatric wards and facilities. His delusions waxed him and waned him, and he really never left him. When those terrifying ideas have him in their grip, he believes that people are trying to kill him and lying about their intentions. That is the streetlights and are monitoring his thoughts. Oh boy, the streetlights are monitoring his thoughts. Hey there, Marley. How are you? Oh, so good to see you. I'm so glad you caught our little live. We're just reading chapter 4. So it's in our little book. So there you go. All right. So he thinks the streetlights are monitoring him. Isn't that weird? Yeah, I guess those are delusions. He thinks that they're part of the CIA, that every passing car contains an agent who's been sent to abduct and question him for crimes that he cannot remember. His sense of reality is fragile in the extreme, and the torment of his suspiciousness, which is present even when the concrete delusions are in remission, makes it increasingly difficult for him to be around other people, even therapists. Jackie Rubenstein has done an almost miraculous job of forging a therapeutic relationship with this lonely young man who trusts no one. You say Dr. Rubenstein said you could be discharged and that she would see you as an outpatient. Yes, that was what she suggested. I mean, she agreed that I was almost ready to go home. Really? Doreen looks at Dennis with a puzzled expression on her face, as if expecting some clarification. That's not what she told me. There is a long pause, during which Dennis' shoulders visibly, and finally he asks, what do you mean? Doreen emits Doreen emits a strange sigh, full of compassion, and comes out from behind her desk to sit in the chair beside Dennis. She tries to put her hand on his shoulder. She's touching the patient. Ooh, wow. But he pulls his body away from her, as if she were about to strike him. Staring at the window as far into the distance as he can, he repeats his question. What do you mean? That's not what she told you. Doreen understands enough about paranoid schizophrenia to know that Dennis already suspects this news is going to be treachery and part of Dr. Rubenstein, the person he thought was his only real friend in the world. What Dr. Rubenstein told me was that she was sure you were much sicker now. Now she's lying to the patient. Remember? She's lying. You were much sicker now than you came in. And as far as outpatient therapy, she made it very clear that she'd never agree to see you outside the hospital. She said you were much too dangerous. Even to Doreen, it's apparent that something in Dennis's heart is flying out of the window and away, not to return anytime soon. She says, Dennis, are you okay? Dennis does not move or speak. She tries again. I'm sorry, I had to be the one to tell you this, Dennis. I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding. You know, Dr. Rubenstein would never lie to you. No, but this doctor lied to him. She tries to say, I'm sorry, but Dennis is silent. He has to cope with the fear of betrayal every minute of his life. But this huge new way coming from his wonderful Dr. Rubenstein has blindsided him and made him stone still like a statue. When Doreen realizes that he really is not going to respond at all, she goes to the phone and calls for assistance. In no time, two burly mental health workers appear in her office door. They are big, but she is the authority, and they will obey her orders without question. Thinking this gives her a little shiver of pleasure, but wearing her bravest expression, she sighs to the orderly to board Dennis. Boarding is a euphemism that makes it sound like the hospital is putting someone up at the end. Well, it really means the patient is transferred from an unlocked ward, such as the one Dennis has been in, to a locked unit with greater security. Patients at the board are boarded if they become violent or when, like Dennis, they have a serious relapse. But he didn't have a relapse. Remember, his real doctor told him that he was ready to go home and that she could do outpatient. So you got to wonder, why is this other doctor who's hateful and ugly, and we know she's the sociopath, why is she telling him something different? What does she gain out of this? It doesn't make any sense. It's terrible. Oh boy. Doreen is fairly certain that Dennis will not tell anyone about what she has just said to him. Dennis does not tell his secrets. He is too paranoid. But even if he does, he will not be believed. No one ever believes that the patient's over the doctors. And from what she just saw, he will be out for quite a long time and not really talking about anything. Oh my God, that's so mean. With a rush of satisfaction, she realizes that Jackie Rubenstein has just lost herself one truly delectable VIP patient. He will be wildly paranoid about Jackie now. And the best part is that Jackie will blame herself and will think she missed something important in her therapy with him, or said something harmful. Jackie? Oh, man. Wow, it's kind of sad. It's really a sad story, actually. Jackie is such a loser about little things like that. She will actually tell the rap. I'm sorry, she will actually take the rap, and then she will hand the patient off to another therapist. So much for all the talk around the hospital about Dr. Rubenstein being a miracle worker. So she just undermined the other doctor, because she was going to get an award. She was very jealous. She didn't want that to happen. Golly, these people. Okay. What did she say? Might still have to fix it here and there. Mine is always messing up with auto voice correct. Oh, okay. Your computer? Okay. All right. So the blue smoke and mirrors. So she blew smoke and mirrors. Of course she did. Doreen Littlefield is what personality therapist Theodore Milan would call a hang on a minute. Oh, a covetous psychopath. What? We're not talking about psychopaths. When psychopath refers to wait a minute. See, I thought we were talking about sociopaths. Why aren't you talking about psychopath? Okay. So she is where psychopath refers to psychopathy or the absence of conscience, and covetous has a usual reference. Oh boy, as a usual reference. Sometimes this book is hard to read. Y'all just have to bear with me. I mean, it's kind of anyway. And an inordinate desire for the possessions of others. Okay, so she wants that award. That's what it is. Sociopaths do not always have a covetous nature. Some are very differently motivated. But when lack of conscience and covetousness occur together in the same individual, a fascinating and frightening picture emerges. Since it is simply not possible to steal and have for oneself the most valuable possessions of another person: beauty, intelligence, success, and strong character. The covetous sociopath settles for the smurthing or damaging and imbitable qualities. Okay, that was kind of hard to read altogether. And others, so that they will not have them either. And at least she'll be able to enjoy them as much. As Milan says, here the pleasure lies in taking rather than in having. Okay, so she just wants to take everything. She don't want to earn nothing. Boy, I'm telling you. Okay, here we go. The covenant sociopath thinks that life has cheated her somehow, has not given her nearly the same bounty as other people, and so she must even the extensional score by robbing people, by secretly causing destruction in other lives. She believes she has been slighted by nature, circumstances, and destiny, and that the diminishing of other people is their only means of being powerful. Retribution, usually against people who have no idea that they have been targeted, is the most important activity in the covenant sociopath's life, her highest priority. Wow, okay. Since the clandestine power game is is priority number one, all of the covenant sociopath's deceitfulness and tolerances for risk are, oh, she's a risk taker. Here we go. Here we go. Are, okay, are devoted to it. Here we go. For the sake of the game, she may devise schemes and perform acts that most of us would, oh God, most of us would consider outrageous and potentially self-destructive, in addition to cruel. And yet, when such a person is around us in our lives, even on a daily basis, we are often oblivious to their activities. Yeah, I bet. We do not expect to see a person direct dangerous, vicious vendetta against someone who must, in most cases, has done nothing to hurt or offend her. We do not expect it, and so we do not see it, even when it happens to someone we know or to us personally. The actions taken by the covenant sociopath are often so outlandish and so gratuitous mean that we refuse to believe that they were intentional or even that they happened at all. In this way, her true nature is usually invisible to the other group. She can easily hide in plain sight, as Doreen has done among genuinely intelligent professional people at the hospital for nearly a decade. The covenant sociopath is the ultimate wolf in the sheep's clothing. In Doreen's case, this disguise is especially elaborate. Doreen is a psychologist, or at any rate, everyone at the hospital believes she is a psychologist, which for Doreen Littlefield's purposes is much the same thing. The truth, should anyone ever discover, is that she has no psychology license. Okay. All right, so she's been lying the whole time. Wow, she is entitled, isn't she? Thank you, Star. This book is written by a doctor, and you can tell by the words used, and some of it's just it just seems like these big, long run-on sentences or something. So anyway, she doesn't even have a license. Wow, and she's diagnosing people? Wow. Okay, so we go back over here. So here we go. The truth that should anyone ever discover it is that she has no psychology license, nor does she have a doctoral degree. When she was 22, she did receive her bachelor's degree in psychology from a state university back home. But that is all. The rest is an extravagant charade. When they hired her at a postdoc at the hospital, they checked her references. But these were both very prominent men who had successful, okay, wait a minute, here we go. These were successful men who had succumbed to her charm, her charade. When they hired her as a postdoc at the hospital, the men who had, hang on, embarrassing liaisons with her. Okay, so the men had these embarrassing liaisons, so they just lied for her. That's dangerous. That is absolutely dangerous, because what if she's diagnosing? Oh, Lord, that is so dangerous. Okay, hang on. Okay, so because she came so prestigiously recommended, they simply assumed that she had a PhD. After all, who on earth would lie about a thing like that? As far as her ability to behave like a psychologist, well enough to fool to the professionals at the patients, Noreen has always felt, and apparently she is born out of this opinion, that is a person can learn a lot by reading books. So she is a Letitia Stouch. She claimed that she had a doctorate in education, but really she did not. She just over exaggerated what she actually had. I think she paid $199 to get her doctorate off of off of University Online. I'm just making that up. That's not true. I'm just joking about that. Yes, she does have the ability to manipulate others in a dangerous, dangerous way. Okay. Now, where were we? Well, I kind of lost my place for a second because I'm like, boy, this is just terrible. Okay, here we go. Her ability to pay. Doreen has always thought apparently she has. Okay. Doreen has just seen her recovering 8 o'clock patients. She actually sees patients. Wow. Wow, that is craziness. Okay. She dropped Kipton into an acutely paranoid state, retribution against an innocent colleague, and sent him off to be medicated and confined to be a locked unit. What does she do for the remainder of the day? Well, if we were to rejoin her in her office, we would find that she calmly meets with the rest of her scheduled patients, makes phone calls, does paperwork, and goes to staff meetings. We would probably not see anything out of the ordinary. Most of her behavior would look normal to us, or close enough to pass. Perhaps she does not do her patients very much good, but she does them no obvious harm either, except in those instances, like this morning, when manipulating a patient will serve to damage a colleague she has targeted. Why would she direct her skills against a psychiatric impatient? They have nothing she wants. They are disenfranchised by the world, and she can feel powerful merely by sitting in a room with them. The exception might be the occasional female patient who is a little too attractive, or worse, a little too smart. Then Doreen might have to bring her down a peg or to tweak a bit of the self-battered that is usually already there into the patients. In her role as a psychotherapist, she finds that this ridiculously easy to do. The setup is always one-on-one, and the patient never understands what hit her well enough to complain to anyone outside of the therapy room. But when people do not provoke in Doreen a desire for something they have or for something they are, then she does not target them. To the contrary, she may be especially charming and covetous when she believes that certain underlings, as she thinks of them, are useful in maintaining her sheep's clothing disguise, a disguise that includes a presentation of herself as an extraordinarily nice, caring, responsible, and pitifully overworked person. For example, when Doreen is preparing to leave work on the day she has secretly sabotaged Jackie Rubenstein and Dennis, she makes sure to stop by Ivy's desk for an enduring little chat. She tries to do this every evening. Ivy is the secretary receptionist for the professionals on that ward. Okay, so she has one person that she goes to and lollygags with, and you know why she does it? You know why she does it? Because that person looks up to her and thinks that she's so special. So she does it. It is diabolical, isn't it? It's terrible. And one never knows where such a strategically placed person may come in handy. Doreen comes out of her office, collapses into one of the reception room chairs, and says, "Oh, Ivy, I'm so grateful this day is over." Ivy is 20 years old. She is overweight and wears big plastic earrings. Doreen thinks she's a pathetic. Oh, man, listen to her making fun. Wow. Doreen, I'm sorry, that's kind of funny the way it was put there. Oh, boy. Okay, she's overweight and wears big plastic earrings. Doreen thinks she is pathetic. I replies to her warmly, "I know, you poor thing, and the poor dentist. I'm no doctor, but I do see the patients around you. They know, and I sort of had my hopes up. I guess I was wrong." No, you're very observant. He did seem better for a while. This work breaks your heart, you know. Of course, the two morning that, what is she trying to say? Of course, this morning, the two no-nonsense attendees carrying Dennis off the ward passed right in front of the wide-eyed Abby. She looks at Doreen with concern. So she's like, "What the hell? I thought he was getting better." She talked about that. Okay. Of course, Dr. Littlefield, I worry about you. As Ivy makes the confession to Dr. Doreen, her eyes are pooling with tears. Oh, Lord, she's crying for the doctor who's not even a doctor. This doctor, Doreen's just enjoying this. She's, oh, look at me, I'm getting all the attention. She's so excited about it. She's made Ivy cry today. Wow. Horrible. Okay. As Ivy makes the confession, she notices that Doreen's eyes are pooling with tears, and she continues to lower her voice. Oh, my. Today was terrible for you, wasn't it, dear? I hope you won't think I'm getting too personal, but you're so sensitive to be doing this kind of work. No, Ivy, I'm just tired. And of course, I'm sad about Dennis. Don't tell anyone, but I'm not supposed to play favorites. But he is special to me. I wish I could just go home and get a good night's sleep. Well, that's exactly what you should do. I wish I could, but with the emergency and all, I didn't get my paperwork done, and I think I'm going to be up half the night doing it. Ivy glances at Doreen's bulging briefcase and says, you poor thing, let's think of something nice, maybe to get your mind off of it. Well, what happened today? Here's that new Maltese dog of yours. So she's trying to say, well, you got that dog, that should make you feel better. Of course, you know how she feels about the dog. She just wants to put it to sleep. That's the sad thing about impulse purchases. And I know people do it all the time. Hell, I've got 2 more dogs, but I just only had one after my poor little Chihuahua died. But I love my little Jack. I love him. But anyway, I see what's going to happen here. She's going to offer to do the paperwork for her. How much do you want to bet that that's what happens? Mm-hmm. Doreen blots her eyes with the back of her hand and smiles. Oh, and then she says, oh, he's terrific, Ivy. Actually, sometimes he's so cute, I could just eat him up. Ivy chuckles. Well, then I bet he's waiting for you. Why don't you go home and just give him a great big hug? Well, she didn't even feed the dog this morning. That's how much she cared. Better not be too big. I'll squish him. He's so teeny. The 2 women laugh together over this, and then Doreen says, Ivy, I think you should be the psychologist. You always know how to put me in a better mood. I'll see you bright and early tomorrow, okay? We'll just keep on keeping on, I guess. I'll be here, affirms little Ivy. She beams as Doreen picks up her briefcase and walks away, listening a bit to the briefcase side, as it's making a little bit noise as she's walking away. Doreen walks back to the lot where she left her car, and then she encounters Jenna. Now, she doesn't like Jenna. In fact, she parks next to Jenna just to make fun of her because Jenna has an old beater car. She talked about that at the beginning of the chapter. So the escort was parked beside this morning. Jenna is a new intern at the hospital, and unlike Ivy, the receptionist, she is young, bright, and pretty. She has long, lovely, stick-straight auburn hair, and Doreen has targeted her. Oh boy, she's next. Hello, Jenna. Going home? Jenna blinks at the obvious question, which she thinks. Hey, y'all, hang on just a second. What time is it? I can only go about 15 minutes more, so y'all just bear with me, okay? Here we go. And that's because it's Friday, and, well, anyway, whole long story, but anyway. All right. Let's go back to this. She goes, Doreen looks concerned. What about your emergency conference at the Chatwin Hall? Chatwin Hall houses a ward directed by the stern and fearsome Dr. Thomas Larson, whom Doreen knows is to be Jenna's primary supervisor. There is, of course, no conference there right now. Doreen has made this up on the spot. Well, yeah, she's a liar, and she'll do anything she can to discredit this other person. That's just terrible. Jenna turns and asserts immediately. There's an emergency meeting? Nobody told me. When? Why? Do you know? Doreen, now taking the demeanor of a schoolmate, looks at her watch and says, about 10 minutes ago, I believe. Didn't you pick up your phone messages? Yes, of course I did. But then really wasn't anything about a conference in Dr. Larson's office. I suppose. Oh no. Oh my God. I've got to go. I guess I'll just go there as fast as I can. Good idea, she says. Jenna is too panicked to wonder why Dr. Littlefield knows about a spur-of-the-moment conference that does not even involve her. The young intern dashes out of her parking lot and begins to run her leather pumps across 1 acre of rain-soaked hospital lawn. Doreen stands in the parking lot. She's laughing inside because she just made her look stupid. She did. Oh boy. Still sprinting, she makes a turn around to the far side of the building and disappears from view. Reflecting in satisfaction that Chatwin Hall is located on the extreme opposite end of the grounds, Doreen gets into her BMW, checks her makeup in the mirror, and starts for the home. Tomorrow or the next day, she will come across Jenna again, and Jenna will ask her, why did she tell her there was a conference when it did not exist? Doreen will just shrug and look hard into Jenna's soft eyes, and she'll say, well, Jenna, just back off. In other words, it's Jenna's fault. So the next part of this, let me hold on just a second. I'm sorry. Ooh wee. Okay. How many more pages? Okay. We only have like 2 pages here. The next page is sociopathy versus criminality. Okay, so now we know that Letitia Stout, I know I use her a lot, but it's important. She is a sociopath and she has criminality. Okay. Doreen Littlefield will never be prosecuted for her deeds, including practicing psychology without a license. Doreen's influential uncle will never discover who she really is, nor most of her other patients or families. The professionals at the hospital will never pressure her legally for her criminal deception of them. She will never be punished in anything like the commensurate way for her countless psychological assaults she commits. In the end, she has good illustrations of the difference between sociopath and criminals, which is astoundingly the same thing that separates naughty 3-year-old girl who separates a naughty 3-year-old girl who is seen as a well-behaved from one who is scolded for stealing candy from her mother's purse. My God, why does this lady have such a word? Silly. It's too much. The difference is quite simple in whether or not she gets caught. Well, that's okay. I get it now, I guess. Here we go. I get this page. And adults getting caught for committing acts without conscience is apparently more than exception to the rule, since 4% of the entire population is sociopathic. Well, that seems like a lot, doesn't it? One might reasonably think that our prison system is filled with overflowing with psychopaths to the exclusion of other types of people, but this is not the case. According to Robert Hare and other researchers who test convicts, on average, only about 20% of prison inmates in the United States are sociopaths. Hare and others are careful to note that this is 20% of the prison population accounts for merely more than 50% of the most serious crimes: extortion, armed robbery, kidnapping, murder, and crimes against the state, treason, espionage, terrorism. But the actual sociopathic head count in prison for both men and women is only about 2 in 10. So 1 in 25 people are sociopathic, but in prison, 2 in 10. That seems a lot, doesn't it? Or maybe, I don't know. I think it is. Put differently, most identified criminals are not sociopaths. Whether they are people with more normal underlying personalities whose behaviors is the product of negative social forces such as the drug culture, child abuse, domestic violence, and cross-generational poverty. Okay. The statistics mean also that very few sociopath crimes are ever brought to the attention of our legal system. That very few sociopaths are criminals in the formal sense. The most common sociopathic profile, like Doreen's, involves ongoing deception and camouflage, and the most flagrant crimes, kidnapping, murder, and so forth, are difficult for a reasonable, intelligent sociopath to conceal. By no means all the sociopaths or armed robbers or kidnappers get caught. The Doreen Littlefields of the world are seldom do, and even when they do get caught, in the sense of being found out, they are rarely prosecuted. The result is that the sociopaths are not incarcerated. They are out here in the world with you and me. Yeah, we know. In the next chapter, we will discuss the many reasons why people of consciousness have wait a minute, this is hard. In the next chapter, we will discuss the many reasons why people of conscience have such difficulty seeing and dealing effectively with people who have no conscience. The reasons range from the fear tactics used by the sociopaths to our own misplaced sense of guilt. Okay. But first, let us return to the hospital once more, this time to see Dr. Jackie Rubenstein's miracle. 2 miracles, in fact. It's now 4 days after Dennis was bombarded and locked in the unit. Sunday, and the hospital grounds are empty except for a small car that travels up and down the narrow drive to Dennis's building and stops by the front door. Dr. Rubenstein steps out and digs in her coat for a tremendous, almost medieval master key that will let her in both of the buildings. Even now, after 8 years of work at the hospital, she clutches the heavy passkey in her hand rather than I'm sorry, the dog's going to bark, y'all. I'm so sorry. Or putting it back in her pocket after she enters the unit and hears the door locked behind her. She has come to try one more time to get her terrified patient Dennis to talk to her. When she walks onto the ward, one another metal door closes behind her and locks, and she sees Dennis sitting on a green vinyl sofa and staring at the television that has not been turned on. He looks up. Their eyes met for a moment, and her surprise and relief, he motions for her to come and sit down. Then the first miracle happens. Dennis talks. He talks and he talks and he talks. Jackie Rubenstein, everything Doreen Littlefield said. He's telling on her. He's telling her. And the second miracle is that Jackie believes him. From home that night, she phones Doreen and confronts Doreen, denies everything, and accuses her of being drawn into the patient's paranoia. Oh, my. When Jackie refuses to back down, Doreen warns her that she will be damaging her own career if she goes to anyone else at the hospital with such a wild tale. I wish she would shut up. When she hangs up the phone after talking with Doreen, Jackie calls a good friend back in Los Angeles for support. She tells him, only half kidding, that she thinks she may be losing her mind. Okay. Jackie does not know that Doreen is a fraud, and from Jackie's perspective, she and Doreen are peers. For this reason, Jackie realizes that she will have a hard time pressing her point with the more senior staff. They will assume that she is just some kind of dispute between her and Jackie. At worst, like Doreen. Here we go. Oh, come on, Paige. At worst, like Doreen suggests, she is letting her patient's issues become her own. Nonetheless, on the following morning, she walks into the office of the director in her unit and tells him what happened. His gray-bearded face redempts, which Jackie finds curious since he does not seem to be angry at her ordering. She wonders as she has, oh my God, what is she trying to say? She wonders as she has wondered vaguely before whether he and Doreen have had an affair. Okay, I see now. After he hears Jackie out, the director does not take quite the substantial approach. Doreen did on the phone, but he does respectfully remind Jackie of how easy it is to see elements of credibility and the delusions of intelligent paranoids. Oh, see, he's blaming the patient. All right. It's the patient's fault. Doreen did so he blamed the patient. All right. He says he very much doubts that anything Doreen told her actually happened, and he expresses the hope that she and Doreen will not carry this disagreement out indefinitely. Such a rift would be bad for the unit. And so, in all important respects, Doreen gets that. Are you there? Why is it cutting down? Are y'all still there? Can you still see me? Because it just flashed like that. All right, hang on, y'all. Okay, so he wants them to just put that behind him and get along. All right. So she gets away with it again. In the end, Doreen Littlefield's charade eventually comes out, as so often does for coveted sociopaths. It cut out, but did it come back? As long as you can still see me, because we only have a little bit here, and we'll be done with this. Not without hung out. Okay, listen. The end of Doreen Littlefield's charade eventually comes. Okay, good enough. Thank you. Eventually comes out, as it so often does for coveted sociopathy, not with a bang, but a whimper, and instigated by someone outside of the system. In Doreen's case, the successful whistleblower is a consumer advocate who appears twice a month on a local television show called Buyer Beware. 6 years after Doreen's psychological assault on Dennis, this local celebrity's wife is hospitalized for depression. And completely by chance, Doreen is assigned to her as her therapist. Okay, this person's name is, hang on a minute. Rankled, I think her name was Rankled, he believes that his wife's therapy is somehow breaking up his marriage. He uses his expertise to investigate Dr. Littlefield and readily discovers what she is, or rather, what she is not. He at once approaches the business director of the hospital and explains that if the hospital will kick Doreen out immediately, find a new therapist for his wife, and forgive his wife's entire hospital bill, he will not expose Doreen. So she gets away with it again, as usual. Gets away with it again. They always get away with that. That's why they're not afraid of anything. Think about this other person that we know. He does everything he wants to do because, after all, he gets away with it every single time. Nobody ever says a thing, and he doesn't have to worry about it. I hope and pray, if they are responsible this time, that he does not get away with it. Well, let's get back to our little book here, because we're almost done. Anyway, he points out quite reasonably that forgiving one bill is a lot less expensive than paying back the hundreds of bills or worse that will be brought against the hospital should Doreen's credentials, or the lack thereof, be broadcasted. Hang on just a second. Reading that file he has shown, the business director is clear on the concept right away, and her forfeited. In the middle of eating cake, a birthday cake, a little office party organized by Ivy, Doreen is abruptly summoned to the administration's building. In the business director's office of the business director, the medical director, and the director of hang on. I'm sorry. I heard a beep and I was like, oh no, don't tell me to cut out on y'all again. I'm sorry. Okay, hang on. Okay, so she's summoned to their office, and they tell her, let's see, to inform Doreen that security will be escorting her to her car, and that those monitors, and they monitor her to make sure that she's leaving the hospital grounds. Doreen tells the three directors that they are making a big mistake, that the consumer advocate is lying because he does not like her. Okay, so it's always somebody else's fault. That's right. It's always somebody else's fault. She drives away, and though she was there for 14 years without a license, 14 years. The hospital administrator does not pursue the matter for the obvious reasons of public embarrassment and medical liability. And then there's the collective sigh of relief when she simply vanishes. In the private conversations about her, the director of nursing and Jackie Rubenstein speculate that Doreen is somewhere else, in some other state, still practicing psychology. I bet she is, but she just kept on going. Most of the people in the hospital have vast quantities of conscience, and so why? When they finally find out about Doreen, do they let her go without a fight? Most likely to strike again somewhere else. And why is a psychiatric hospital, was she so hard to see in the first place? In general, how can any of us live as well we all do among significant numbers of destructive liars and con artists and fail to confront them or even notice them? As we are about to see, there are answers to these crucial questions, and also ways that we can begin to change our perspectives to the slippery phenomenon of a sociopath. Okay, now that is chapter 4. Next, we're going to go to chapter 5. I know y'all, I struggle a little bit, but you know, this book is so wordy, and I know. Anyway, thank y'all for coming over with me today. I'm so glad you did. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I know I enjoy reading to y'all. It's so fun. And I guess I'll just come back probably on Monday, and we'll just go to chapter 5. I don't really like to do on the weekend because, you know, everybody's busy and we all have our private lives and we all have things we need to do. So anyway, Thank you. I'm so happy I saw it. Yeah, no license criminal. Can you imagine? Anyway, I'm going to let y'all go. Thank you so much for coming. I really love you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, mods, for taking care of me. You always do. I appreciate that. So have a good evening. I'll see you all tonight somewhere on YouTube, I'm sure, on somebody else's channel. Bye. Bye. Thank you. Have a good evening.